Hey, Crestwood. Hope you are doing well today. Happy Wednesday to you on this November 30th. One more day till December and the last month of the year. Hard to believe we are here, but December is such a special month and holds so many great memories for us and such potential for us to experience God's presence in new ways as we await the birth of Christ. So I hope you are entering into this month with great expectation as we await what Christ is going to do in our world once again. It's an honor for me to be with you today to present this devotional. I'm thinking today about peace. This coming Sunday, we'll light the candle of peace as part of the Advent wreath. We'll hear about peace in Scripture. We'll sing songs about peace. Peace is a major part of this season of Christmas, at least from a religious and liturgical standpoint. The irony is, of course, that peace is often absent in our culture during this time. I'm not speaking just about the general lack of peace in our world as we deal with wars and violence and conflict and political turmoil, but especially this month when we're supposed to be celebrating peace. It's the month that tends to be the most chaotic, the month that can be most frustrating, the month when we are furthest away from that sense of peace that we are supposed to have as we worry about shopping and parties and food and will there be enough and do we have enough and all the things we have to attend to during this month. The one thing I feel like we miss most is peace. And yet we're told that Christ comes to us as the Prince of Peace, the one who brings us peace in our hearts and in our world. And it's easy to get frustrated with that. It's easy to get skeptical about that. Well, if Jesus is the Prince of Peace, why then don't I feel more peaceful? Why isn't this world more peaceful? And I think that's a legitimate question when we look around at what we face in our own lives and what our world is facing. But I also wonder if some of the challenge that comes from that is we want peace, and yet we're not willing to do the things necessary to receive peace. If we want to feel the peace of Jesus, then we need to lean into Jesus. We need to spend time with Jesus. We need to focus more on Jesus. And yet I think sometimes we, in our consumerist culture, have a sense of entitlement that, no, we deserve peace, and so we're just going to sit back and let it come to us. But nothing that God gives us is something that is received without the expectation on our part, without the work on our part. Even when we receive God's grace, we receive God's grace because we are willing to give up the things that stand in the way of us receiving that grace. And I would say the same thing is true of peace. If we want God's peace in our lives, what are we willing to get rid of to create that space? We sing in the hymn, "Let every heart prepare him room." What are we doing to prepare room for God's peace to come into our hearts this Christmas? There are things we might have to get rid of. There are expectations. There are assumptions. There are pursuits of status. Those kind of things that keep us from having that peace. There are grudges that we hold. There are judgments. There are prejudices. All these things stand in the way of us receiving God's peace. So I think it's always a good exercise when we are not feeling at peace to stop and do like a self-inventory. What is going on in me that is keeping me from feeling peaceful? And we can often say, well, it's the way someone else is treating me or the way someone else is acting. But also, what is happening in us? How are we responding to those things that are creating this lack of peace within us? I think one of the ways we find peace in our world today is through simplicity. And this is not a season for simplicity, is it? This is a season for extravagance, a season for opulence, a season for abundance. And yet, what would it be like to simplify Christmas this year? I don't know what that looks like for you. Maybe it's buying less presents. Maybe it's not worrying about fixing, so much food. Maybe it's not worrying about going to so many social gatherings. What does simplicity look like for you? Maybe it's trading in some of the social things for going Christmas caroling at the church. Or maybe it's really focusing in on the Christmas Eve service and hearing the message with new ears. I don't know what it is for you, but I believe every single one of us can do something this Advent season to prepare room for God's peace to come into our world. God knows we need it. And the more each of us experience God's peace, the more that radiates out from us and creates a sense of peace in those around us, in our community, in our world. So, Crestwood, I want you to seek peace this Advent, to find places that are cluttered, to find places that are jumbled up with things that are blocking you from feeling peace, and to have the courage to say, you know what, this year, I'm not going to do that. This year, I simply want to be at peace, to experience the peace of Jesus Christ. Whatever that means for you, Crestwood, I hope you're bold enough and have faith enough to say, I want to pursue peace this Christmas. God bless you, Crestwood.